Hello and welcome everyone to this pre-recorded workshop on keyboarding in the typing.com website. My name is Nick and I'll be your instructor for this little presentation. So without any further ado, let's get started. So what I'm going to be talking about today is primarily how to use the typing.com website, which we'll see in just a few moments here. I'll also be talking about good typing and keyboarding practices to make you a better typist and a better keyboardist all around, and a little other random tips that'll help you understand different computer literacy items a little more so. So first things first, what we want to do is get onto the typing.com website. Now if you're watching this on the PA CareerLink Lehigh Valley site, the typing.com website should be linked below where you found this video. If it's not, I'm going to show you how to get it anyway. So what we want to do there is find a web browser. So there's two web browsers we can use. That I'm going to use one of them, one being either Google Chrome, the symbol you see right here where my cursor is, or Microsoft Edge, which are probably the two you are most familiar with. Any web browser will work. I'm just pointing out these two because they're the most popular. For today's purposes, I'm going to use Google Chrome. Give that a click or a double click, it doesn't really matter either way. Just give it time to load. If it doesn't load right away, that doesn't mean that's not going to in most cases. It just needs some extra time in most cases. So don't keep clicking it because you're going to open 5 different windows that you don't need. So give it some time. So to find typing.com, it's going to be as simple as using that search bar up there that says typing, and up here at the top that you see, and you want to type in typing.com. Now this isn't blinking. You see this little cursor here that's blinking. If that's not blinking, maybe how it looks now, you want to make sure that it is blinking, because as you can hear, none of that was typed in. So I just want to make sure I click in there, and now it's blinking, so now I can type in typing.com. It's going to show up for me because I've been on the site before on this computer, but just to show you the full thing, again, it's simply just typing.com. Then you can simply press enter on your keyboard in front of you. So here you can see typing.com. You see it's a very nice website, very clean looking. And the reason why I use a website as opposed to something like a program, maybe like Mavis Beacon, for example, is because I think this website's a little easier to access and it doesn't cost anything. It doesn't require you to download anything, nothing at all. So I think it's a very friendly website to use and very nice to use. So first thing I want to do before we even start typing is create an account for typing.com. Now why do we want to create an account? Well, the reason why we want to create an account is that it saves your progress. So what I mean by that is, let's say you go on typing.com and you do a few of the lessons they have on there, and you shut down your computer for the night, or you leave it for the next day, whatever it might be. And then you get back on and you're not sure where you left off because you didn't make an account in that first place. Well, what typing.com will do is it'll save all your progress and you know exactly where you left off, even if it was in the middle of an entire lesson. So it makes it very easy to track how you're doing, how you're growing, what your issues are when it comes to certain keys, and all these great little items here. So that's why I do highly recommend creating an account. So I'm going to walk you through that process as well. So we're going to go over here. It's going to say this yellow button says sign up now. And what we want to do is hover over it. What I mean by that is we're not going to click on it. Simply we're going to take our cursor and simply just push it over on top of it. Notice you didn't hear a clicking sound or anything because I don't want to click on that yellow sign up now button. What I want to do is take that box that just opened up below me and go to student sign up, and then I can click on that. We do not want to sign up as a teacher, we want to sign up as a student. Okay, so see here we have the little sign in bit for the account. If you're familiar or have any of these icons up here, you're more than welcome to use them, especially if you have a Gmail account or a Google account. But just for simplicity purposes, I'm going to use the standard sign-in procedure down here. Now, what's even nicer about typing.com is that you don't even need an email to sign up. You can see here that says email and optional is right next to it. So we don't even technically need the email. If you have an email that you use somewhat frequently, I would recommend putting it in there just because this makes it so you can retrieve or make a new password should you forget the one you used originally. But you certainly don't need it if you don't want to put it in. So for today's purposes, I'm not going to put an email in, nor especially because I already have a typing.com account. I'm making a new one to show you what that looks like. But just remind yourselves that I would recommend putting an email in, but you certainly do not have to. The only thing you do have to put in is a username and a password, and I can tell that by the asterisks next to your username and password. Whenever you see that on typing.com or any other website where you're making an account or filling out a form, if it has an asterisk next to the title of the box here, that's how you know that this area needs to be filled in before moving on to the next page. So for the username, I made my original account my first and last name. I'm going to do the opposite of that, make my last name my first name. And the reason why I do that is I think that's just easiest to remember without making some, crazy account or anything like that. So I just think it's easy to make your first last name, last first name, first initial last name, whatever you think will be easier for you. And another little neat trick when it comes to typing.com, another little tangential learning moment here, is that when a lot of people are filling out one of these forms with these multiple boxes, what they usually do is will take their cursor, move it down, and click in right here to move their box down so they can type in here. But if we're talking about being a more efficient typist, an easier way to use that is to use the tab key. So if you look on your keyboards, maybe as you're listening to me right now, look toward the left side of your keyboard, about the left, top left, maybe a little more toward the middle. And you should see a key titled Tab, and maybe have little arrows on it going one of each two ways. Click that key as you're clicked in the box on your screen. As you'll see in just a second, if I click that Tab key, the cursor actually jumped down to that second box. Let me just do that again just so you really understand what I mean. You can see the cursor, that blinking little symbol right there is right here. And if I click the Tab key, it jumps down, and now the typing happens down here. So that's just a neat little trick that I think a lot of people don't utilize enough, and it makes their typing, ever so much faster. Because the idea of typing and making yourself a better typist is to try to keep your hands on the keyboard, and we'll see how that works when we get into the actual website and the lessons. But we want to avoid using the mouse as much as we possibly can. Obviously, there will be some times where use of a mouse is necessary, but we want to try to keep our hands on the keyboard because that's what's going to make us a better typist. With the password, I would make it something that's easy to remember and make it, as long as about 8 characters or so. So that can be 8 letters and a couple of numbers, or 7 letters and a couple of numbers, or even special characters such as exclamation points or the $ or percentage symbol, whatever you think will be easiest for you to remember. Something that is going to be in the back of your mind. I do recommend writing it down on a piece of paper and sticking that piece of paper somewhere safe, whether it be in your wallet or in a special drawer or whatever it might be, just so you always have that password with you. So with the password here, I'm going to just make it something very simple, so I'll make it very easy for me to remember. I'm going to make mine a little longer just because that's what I'm going to make it for myself to remember. That's okay. You only need about 8 or so characters in this password. Now if you're looking at all these dots and you're not sure if you typed it right, there is going to be this little show button right here. And so you hover over that and you click that, it will show you what the password was. Now I don't mind showing you guys my password because I'm not really going to use this account, but that's okay. Alright, and then you just want to click this little box here. It may be hard to miss because the box is rather almost transparent in a way, but it's just a little privacy agreement. You can agree to these things right here, but these are pretty standard across any sort of website you might use. So I'm just going to click right there. Now I have everything ready to go. I'm going to click sign up. Okay, so now we can see the typing.com website as you're using it for the typing purposes here. There's a whole lot of stuff on here that we're going to talk about toward the end of the workshop here today. What we want to do is get started. Now, even if you're someone who has familiarity of typing, or you think you're a pretty good typist in general, I would recommend starting right at the beginning. You can start wherever you want. You can start at this lesson. You can go all the way down to the bottom and start at the assessment. You can even start in advance if you really wanted to. And again, I'm not saying you have to do that. I'm not saying you can start wherever you want. I think starting from the beginning is well, even if you are a pretty good typist already, because it gives you that foundational skill that maybe you never exactly learned before. I know when I always talk to people, I tell them I teach with, type with 3 fingers most of the time. My thumb, my index finger, and my middle fingers in each hand, because that's the way I was always typing as a, someone growing up. But it's not, the best way to type is not the most efficient way to type, and that's why I still started from the beginning, and I can type fairly quickly, in my own opinion. But that's why I still wanted to start right at the beginning to get some of that more foundational knowledge. I would highly recommend starting right then and there at the beginning. To get started, all we got to do is click this yellow start button. So there's going to be a video before each of the sessions or before most of the classes in here. I would recommend watching these videos as they're going to kind of prepare you for what you're about to go into. They're usually only about a minute or two long, so not too much of an investment to watch. For these today's purposes, I'm not going to watch it just because, again, you'll watch this on your own right, and I don't want to spoil the lovely video they made. But if you want to move on, if you get sick of the videos, you just want to keep typing, there's this little skip video button. It's very, very transparent, very, very hard to see. And we can click skip video. Now before I even click that, again I'm hovering over that, you can see a little tip pops up. It says press enter to continue, and we're going to want to do that. So as opposed to using our mouse, like I said before, what we don't want to do is I can just keep my hands on the keyboard and press the enter key. And you can see that took me over to the next side of the lesson. And keep that enter key rule in mind. Whenever we're moving out these lessons, we're always going to want to press that enter key in order to move forward, because again we want to try to keep our hands on the keyboard as much as possible. So this is what typing.com is most of the time going to look like. We'll have different iterations, and I'll show you what that iterations look like. But this is the general setup here. So first at the bottom we have the keyboard. Now this keyboard will likely not look exactly the same as the keyboard you're using, but it will have all the functionality of all the keys that you're going to use. That should all be there. You can also see that the way your hand should be rested. So right here, and you'll learn about this through the lessons here, these keys that these fingers are on, from F to A and J to the colon symbol, that's known as the home row. It's called the home row because that's where your fingers should be generally rested when you're using a keyboard, and they should only move around when they need to reach some of these other keys above, below, and to the side of it. This is most efficient because your fingers are in the middle of all the keys, so you have the most reach with everything. And also because your thumbs now rest on the space bar, so you're always going to want to use your thumbs to press that space bar. I see a lot of people where they take their index finger and click down here, and it becomes really awkward because now you're moving your whole orientation of your hand away from the home row key. So you want to try to rest your, again, your fingers on the home row keys that you see them there. If you look at the F and J keys specifically on your own keyboard, it should have some sort of divot or some sort of difference between them. Usually it has a little divot at the bottom of the key, so if you rub your finger down the bottom of the key, you should feel that little divot. That's there to help you orient yourself, especially when you're not looking at your keys, which surprisingly enough you will be doing eventually, is not actually looking at your keys or your fingers to move around the keyboard, because you will have that muscle memory intact there. So that's how you can know that you're right on target with the home row keys. Again, typing.com is going to have a lesson where they'll teach you this, probably within this little area here. But I do like to get it over with right away. The other thing I want to point out is you can see that right now it says type the J key and specifies using my right index finger, again sort of driving home the point of the home row keys. And you can see that the J key in this little area is blinking blue. So that's why I know that's a key I want to press. So I'm going to press that J key. So you can see a couple things happened. Now the key down here is not blinking blue, and now the key up here has turned green. When a key turns green, that's how you know when you click the key and you can move on to the next one. And it's going to give you a little blurb about it, and then you can practice, and again we're pressing enter to continue. So we don't want to try to move on manually, we don't try to press enter. Okay. And so now we can see how typing.com is generally going to look. We always going to see one of those little almost tutorial-like screens beforehand. This is how it's going to look a majority of the time. Again, it's blue down here, it's blue up here. We can see the way our hands are supposed to be situated, and we see all the things we're going to type. And again, when I click it, the blue will turn to green up top, and that's how I know I don't need to click that one anymore. But I can click J, 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 and J. And look at that, it gives you some stars. The little laptop guy is all smiley and happy for you. It tells you what your words per minute and accuracy are. And so it gives you a good idea of how you're doing. In these earlier stages, I know people are very obsessed with the words per minute number. They want to get their words per minute higher rather than lower. I'd be much more focused on the accuracy. Because if you're more accurate when you're learning, especially if you're learning or relearning for the first time, that's what's going to make you faster. Trying to type fast is not the thing that's going to make you faster. Knowing how to type and where all the keys are located, that is what will make you faster. So even if you're getting, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 words per minute on every lesson, that's fine. Understand that this is not going to happen overnight. You're not going to become, a 70 words per minute typist overnight. That's just not feasible. So focus on the accuracy. You want to see all 3 of these stars filled out by getting everything as accurate as possible. So here we want to move on to the next lesson. You can kind of see there's a progress bar down below. So we can see that I just did one part of this lesson, specifically the first part. Now there is a continue button, but if you remember, and it'll tell you when I hover over it, we want to try to press enter to continue. So again, try to get yourself in the mindset of keeping your hands off of your mouse or your trackpad if you're using a laptop, and try to just continue pressing enter. Okay, so now it's going to add different keys for us. Now we're talking about the F key. So now it's introducing us to, each side of the home row. And one thing I want to pause and point out here is you can see these little ads probably on the left-hand side. You might have saw some up top or on the right-hand side below. You want to avoid clicking on these ads because these ads are going to take you somewhere else. And sometimes people click on these ads and don't realize that they clicked on the ad and they feel like they did something to the computer. Just don't click on these ads. Typing.com is a free website, so it uses ads to gain some revenue. Just generally ignore them. You can click a little X here if you wanted to get it out of the way. But I find it easier just to ignore it. You should be focused on the general center of your screen where all the Typing.com stuff is anyway. But again, it's blue. I'm going to click F. You see F turn green and press enter. And when I'm pressing enter, I'm using my right pinky to do that. I'm kind of making a jump. It's okay if your middle 2 fingers hop off the keys for a second. Just make sure they return. Even practice that motion a bit too, of hopping your pinky finger from the colon key to the enter key. It's not a big hop, but it's a hop that you want to practice. Again, we're going to see the same thing. I'm going to go F. It's going to add in the J key again, so we want to be wary for that. It will do that to you several times. It kind of keeps you on your toes, making sure you're understanding how you're typing. Again, I got the accuracy. Even my words per minute increase, but that's okay. Again, what we really are focusing on is the accuracy. It's great if your words per minute does increase. You really want to be focused on how correct you're being. Again, press enter and continue on. Now it's going to show me a different way that it's going to give me the letters and the keys to type and all that. So again, we'll press enter to continue. Now we can see it's coming down sort of almost like a typewriter type system here where it's coming top down for you. So you want to follow the same rules. Now it's the same thing, just simply showing you a different format. And again, I'm going a little faster than I probably should be for this lesson just because I'm used to typing. If you're not used to typing, definitely take your time with it. Even if you're going like this, that's perfectly fine. That's what exactly you want to do when it comes to the typing practice because that's what makes you better. And again, even just to prove my point, I was focusing on my accuracy and you'd see that the words per minute are slowly increasing because that's what I'm doing. Sometimes interspersed in these lessons, there'll be another video. Again, you can just press enter to continue. I do recommend watching the videos, but for our purposes, I'm going to press enter just to get through it. Okay, a lot of people get confused when they get to the spacebar key here. So for some reason, I don't understand why, on the very first symbol, first page here, it shows you this little symbol, which is the symbol for a spacebar, but it's probably not on the spacebar you see. Whenever you see this or a blank box, like we're going to see in just a second, that means spacebar. You can see down below, the spacebar is blinking blue, and again, as the diagram here shows us, we want to try to click that with our thumbs. So either your right thumb or your left thumb or both thumbs, whatever you find most correct. And I actually just made a real mistake, so it's another good teaching moment. So you can see that this key is now red. Why did that happen? Well, my pinky accidentally slipped on the A key. If you might have catched that before, you can rewind the video and see that happen because my finger actually did just slip. That wasn't intentional. If your finger does slip and you miss a key or if you just hit the wrong key, it will turn red for a second. That's how you know that you just made a mistake. You can rectify a mistake by pressing the right key. And why I show you why I pointed out this symbol in particular, because when I press enter, you can see now they're just blank boxes. I don't know why they have that symbol. It's only for the first time they teach you about the space bar. I don't know. But otherwise, whenever you see a blank box like this or a blank space, as we'll see in some of the other lessons coming up, that means pressing the space bar. And now you can see we are intermingling the space bar and the keys. I find it a little easier to use only one thumb to hit that spacebar. I find if you use two thumbs, it may throw off your mojo, if you will. So I just would use one thumb. Typically, it's my right thumb because that's my dominant hand, but either thumb is okay as long as it's comfortable for you. That's another good little teaching moment. The home row is something we want to stick to, but if you find that the home row, hurts your hands too much, or it just isn't feasible, maybe you have, bigger hands than most people for whatever reason, or even smaller hands, and you find that the home row keys just don't really work for you, that's okay. Think of them more as, guidelines. I wouldn't say they're strict guidelines. They're guidelines we want to try to stick to, but, find it comfortable. I often find that my pinkies don't reach the way typing.com and most typing services tell you to use them to reach. So I typically don't use my pinkies the way I'm supposed to use. I typically might sub in my third or my ring finger on each hand to do that. And that's okay. It's all about customizing it to you. As long as you can get everything accurate and type in a good manner, that's what we're looking for. Okay, another video. Again, we'll just press enter to continue, but I do recommend watching the videos. This one especially, I'm going to mute it so we don't actually hear it over my talking. This one especially, we'll talk about the home row keys here. You can see it has nice little animations. It's very easy to follow. You can kind of see how it's showing you the F and J keys I talked about earlier with those little divots intact there, which is very nice to see. And again, showing you how to lay out your keys or your fingers on each key there. So I do recommend watching these videos, especially this one in particular, but again, we can just skip through it by pressing enter. So now we're back to this format. I'm going to go a little faster through this because I do want to get to some other things to show you on this website, just to show you how it can show you all the different ways to type on the website. Alright, so now we're getting to one of the little typing games, as they call them, saying try to type these JNF combinations in quick bursts. So that's okay, we'll go through there. So this is one of the other ways they'll show you how to type. It's through this little game. You have this little guy with a pot on his head, cute little character here. And what you want to do is have this guy jump up to each branch. It sounds a little silly, but it is a nice little way to show you everything. So what we want to do is type, JJJ, and then he pops up, he gets a little smile, FFF, he smiles, JJF. I will note that if you hit the wrong key, so let's say I click H here, you can see that it turns red. You might have seen the red down below. But you can see he kind of frowns. He doesn't really like that. So we want to make sure we click the right key. Click J again. JFJ, FJF, FFJJ, JJFF. And that's one of the games... I always forget about the sound every single time. That's one of the games where you really want to focus on the speed. I did tell you before, to kind of not focus on the speed. But that's one you do want to focus on the speed a little bit, as long as you're comfortable. Certainly if you're not comfortable with the speed yet, not comfortable with the keys yet, do focus on the accuracy. But that one where it kind of pushes you into focusing on the speed. Because it's giving you those short burst, characters together. So you do want to try that a bit. Again, we'll click continue. So you can see a little different format. I do like to show you this because it says JJF. And then it has that blank space there. Again, it's not the box, but that is what the space would be. So whenever you see the cursor, that little blue thing, that little blue cursor that's hovering in and out, that's how you know to press the space key. And you see the space where that key was turns green. That's how you know you're good to go. And when you get to the end of it as well, you also want to press the space key for that. Oop, that was an actual mistake as well. So we can see here, it actually, you might have saw this earlier, it did happen once before, but it's going to give you little progress updates, almost like achievements, if for so. And it's going to tell you how you're doing. You see all your achievements by clicking here. If you want to get rid of it, just click the X here. So we'll keep going through the lessons. I do want to take you through one entire lesson just to see how this works. So I'm just going to go a little faster because we've seen this kind of format before. Now I'm trying to test myself. There we go. And again, it's going to give you a lot of repetition, and it may seem a little redundant at first, but this is really important to go through each of those individually, because as you can see, even I still make mistakes and I teach the class. You really want to get this foundational knowledge, like I said, because it is really going to be helpful for you. Oh, look at that, more achievements. Very nice. Now we're back to our little jump man game here. So now it's giving us a little less. And again, it's giving a short little burst of things that should be somewhat easy to type in here. Like I said, if you want to try to focus on the speed at this point, that is a good idea. But also, if you're not wholly comfortable with typing yet, especially if this is one of your first times really interacting with a keyboard and typing like this, definitely still focus on the accuracy. And again, it's going to get repetitive. That is part of the learning process. It is something that I think you really want to sit down and just do. I don't know about all of you. It seems like... Oh, seems like we had a little crash there. That's okay. I don't know about all of you. I find that this is kind of soothing, kind of relaxing to do in many cases. So I like it personally. Really should mute myself, shouldn't I? So we don't hear that sound every time. But I do find it relaxing. So it is something maybe to do to pass the time. There are quite many number of lessons here. And that's what we want to do. I know I clicked there. I told you not to click, but it wasn't really working. That's okay. Okay, so now we're at the end of a lesson here. You can see we get a little, spinning little badge here. It gets all the stars we earn, and we want to try to get all these stars, especially in this early stage, because that means you're accurate across the board. We scroll down, it's going to give you some stats. So your average words per minute was 24 in this case. My average accuracy was 99%, so that means I was most accurate. And my time spent typing was 2 minutes and 57 seconds. Now this is the one area, whenever you get to this screen that has a little spinning badge right here, where that enter rule really isn't going to apply. So you can see if I hover my cursor over here, it doesn't come up with that pop-up window we saw before. I'll click enter a bunch, it doesn't go forward. So when you get to the very end of a lesson, as you get to this screen you see here, that's when we'll move on to this continue key over here. But I'm going to show you some other things on the typing.com website, so we're going to hop off the lessons real quick. So if I were on this page, I want to get back to that page we saw before, all you need to do is go over here and click on typing.com. So you can see some of those data points stuck around. We can see some times in here. Again, accuracy and words per minute are probably the most important. I don't pay a lot of attention to typing time because I think these two will direct this, will kind of indicate how this will act. So I pay more attention to these two areas here. These are general ones. These will change as you go through the classes here, the little workshops here. The other thing you see is that JF in space now is green and has a little star next to it where the number once was. And it tells me, all the stuff how I did there, which is really nice, and how I've been going throughout the lesson. I could restart if I wanted to, but I could also move forward. That's not really what we're paying attention to here. If we scroll down here, we're going to see some other areas of information. So tech readiness, career prep. These are interesting if you want to check them out. They kind of go through some computer literacy items. There are some websites that we've put on the section of this website on the Lehigh Valley site you're looking at that have some more information on this. But this is a nice little way to run to, especially if you like the typing.com sort of format. It is very nice to put in there. We have some career prep. Obviously, this is what we're all about, but it goes into some other different types of topics maybe we haven't touched on in specifics. So it could be a good thing to go through these as well. If you're ever interested in coding, you could go into take some coding. I don't know how many people would be interested in that. I find it pretty neat, but I guess that's my nerdy side coming out. And more importantly, as it relates back to typing, we want to go down here toward the bottom because there's some interesting stuff down here. First and foremost is reinforcement. So it's going to give us different types of games to view the typing.com in. So if you want to switch things up, and you can type strange laws or jokes and some other things on here. So I know sometimes if you get a little tired of the regular format with the lessons here, you can try this little reinforcement area. One thing we'll point out is you'll see Dvorak keyboard format. I would avoid this because Dvorak is another type of keyboard. It's not the QWERTY keyboard format that we are using. And if just for notification, why it's called the QWERTY, as I typed in here. If you look at a image of a keyboard, I'll use this image nicely. You can see that the top keys, and you look at your own keyboard, spell out QWERTY. That's the only reason why it's called a QWERTY keyboard layout, but that's the one we're going to use. Dvorak is an entirely different layout of keys. Again, I can see what that looks like too. So it's Dvorak keyboard, images. Yeah, you can see some crazy ones going on over here. But you can see by this image right here, it's set up very differently. It's very, everything's all over the place, where the P is over here, and it's not the one we're typically going to use. So I don't teach this because I don't use it. I've never used a keyboard like that in my life. So just avoid these lessons altogether, unless you are a keyboarding fanatic and you really want to learn everything. Maybe you have a Dvorak keyboard lying about, but generally avoid those. There's also stories, so now maybe there's these little stories. I've never really tried these, but they sound kind of interesting. When robots ruled the world. Interesting. Games, all this fun stuff. Then more importantly, there's this problem keys section here. Now nothing's going to show up for me just yet, because I've only done about one lesson. But as you keep typing here, it's going to show you what keys you're constantly missing. So I know in my regular account, I think my keys are like P, X, and I want to say. It could be something else, I'm not sure. But those are the keys I'm constantly missing or getting incorrect when I try to type them. And what's going to offer you are little lessons on those keys specifically. So that's another reason why I recommend making an account, because not only will it save your progress, but it tracks how you do and gives you other ideas on how to get better. So I would again use this reinforcement area down here and with the problem keys area, and really make sure you take advantage of all that. Okay, if you want to go back to this area, we can click typing.com. It's going to take us right back here at the beginning. Up here you'll see a little experience bar where you can see 6,000 or so XP for experience to go. It's going to sort of give you almost like a gaming aspect to it, where it levels you up per se. This little seedling here you see, that will grow eventually into a branch, and you'll get a little bird on it. I have a little bird on my guy. I think I named him Jerry. That's a little joke. But it is really nice to see. It kind of gives you that visual representation of your progress growing as you become a better typist. Some other things is up here you have games. These games are really neat because they're kind of interesting ways to break up, again, the monotony of everything you're doing. My favorite one is the type toss, because it's kind of reminiscent of those old typing games. They give you different easy levels, so let's put on medium so I don't make a fool of myself, and let's do easy words. Click play. And what's going to ask you to do, it's going to ask you to, catch those things as they go across. So look at that center row I'm using. I'm just clicking all those letters there. So I think it's a nice way to, get some typing in a different fun way. So if you do want to, make typing a little more fun, you kind of make it as if you were at a circus right now, and now you're typing. You can even try to get yourself to the point where there's no anything on the screen there. I'm having too much fun with this typing.com game right now. So, yeah. Again, if I want to get off this game, I can go back here, click typing.com left-hand corner, and that's basically it. That's the entirety of typing.com. Like I said, I'll just run through these lessons. It's going to go down, it's going to give you new keys, and it's going to add on each top key. There'll be reviews for each section, more keys, and it gets in some punctuation, some more keys, wrap-ups, and then it always gives you one of these timed assessments below. And all this timed assessment is, when you get to that point, is it's saying, you have about a minute, and you want to, only use the finger required for each keystroke. You want to try to keep your fingers on the home row, and it's going to give you a paragraph here that you want to try to type in, a certain amount of time. It's going to judge you based on how many, letters you get within that time. Now I'm getting back into this again. And again, you can see what I'm doing here is I'm going too fast. I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing, and now I'm making a lot of mistakes. Hence what I was saying earlier, you want to focus on your accuracy over your speed. That was a nice way to get that little typing practice in. Now we'll kind of follow the same format for every lesson here. So that's what typing.com has to do with you. So other than that, I do have a couple of handouts, again linked below this video if you found it on the PA CareerLink Lehigh Valley site. There are a couple of handouts. One goes over some other websites I use for this keyboarding workshop. Those websites will be linked in the description as well. They'll go over other computer literacy type things, So definitely read through the packet, get some idea of that. The other little packet is a packet of keyboard shortcuts. A shortcut is anything that is used for adding keys together on the keyboard to make it easier to do. So for example, let's say I wanted to use a keyboard shortcut. I can open a Word document to use this example. Okay, I'll make that big. Let's say I just type in the word word, and I wanted to copy that word and paste it here. So I could highlight it and copy it, do that, and then click again and do all this clicking and press that. What I could do is highlight it and press the Control key, CTRL, and the V key, holding down the Control key, or the C key, excuse me, to copy that, and then I can go over here, press Control and V, and you see it just pastes it automatically. So that's what I mean by shortcuts. That was a shortcut as opposed to highlighting and clicking and pasting and all that. I just pressed a couple of keys. So that's exactly what I mean by shortcuts. So take a look through those. You might have used some of these before in your past, or it might be entirely new to you, but definitely have a look through of those. It's going to be very helpful for what we're doing here. But other than that, I hope this little tutorial on typing.com and typing in general helped you out in some way, shape, or form. I hope you're all staying safe and healthy, and I hope you keep on keeping on. Have a good day, everyone.